Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another stream for the Osu Mania 7 Key World Cup 2024. We have just finished off all of our qualifier lobbies for this tournament. We have our qualifier results. We have our round of 24 Mappool Showcase coming up, so a little bit of a new addition. Those two things upcoming. I am Toph Daddy here as one of your commentators for this stream, joined by Mifa. How's it going?
Hello. I'm excited, you're excited, and we are all excited to see how the seed qualifier reveal will turn out to be, and especially when most people, and I guess all people, would be dying to see how it for the teams actually turn out, and who's actually going to be the top 24 teams that are able to qualify further into the tournament. And we'll see how that goes once we actually get into it.
Yeah, and just to clear up how this is all working, we are not misspeaking when we said top 24 are qualifying. There is a round of 24, a little bit out of the ordinary for these usual tournaments, but 24 teams will be qualifying. The top 8 seeds from this qualifier set will be getting a bye for the upcoming weekend and will face the winners between the seeds 9 through 24 who will be playing in this round of 24 map pool. Everyone under 24, everything else is fine, normal. Under 24 will not qualify and will not move on.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel given the teams that are actually playing in the qualifiers right now, I think this qualifier pool has been quite a bit of showing, especially even though they are different structure than the last year's map pool. So I believe it would be interesting to see how the scores actually would be if it is translated into into the qualifier structure that would see how the teams are qualified in this way. So
yeah, we'll but I think that's enough explanation for now. I believe we are ready to go with our seeding showcase to start off. 38 teams competed, so we will be showing from the top to bottom. So seed number 38 here, starters of our non-qualifiers, is Iraq. The Smasher Snee and Cherno ET not able to pull it together for their team, but they will be starting us off for the seeding here at number 38.
Yeah, it looks like given that Iraq has been actually an impressive showing for the qualifiers to be able to play for most of these map pools. I believe it's still pretty impressive showing for Vortex in particular, which I believe that would be the stage 2, which averaging almost about 800k, which is not something that people would actually go that far, especially when you play into the 7 key. But I guess this would be an impressive showing, and can't wait to see how the next year would be for Iraq.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is our seed 38. We'll move into seed number 37 at Guatemala, Voches, Chichan, and Karate Fanboy. Similar showing. You said stage 2 was pretty good by Iraq. Same thing here with Guatemala. And you can see even a little bit of improvement on that stage 3 Altair. As well as Aurora there. Looks like they have a little bit more comfort with the long notes and the hybrids, but still just a little bit below what's needed to qualify. And again, really, these are hard qualifiers, so even just playing through them and getting these kinds of scores is something that we like to see.
Yeah, I mean, especially for Aurora, I guess the core stream chart that has been it's been pretty hard. It's a tough core stream chart for the qualifiers. So I believe even getting a 1.3 million is already pretty impressive just to be able to play or even pass it.
Yeah, absolutely. But we can move on to seed 36. We won't be spending too much time on these first few seeds. Just as we get closer to qualifying, we'll be speaking a little bit more. But Lithuania will be our number 36 seed. Same kind of story. Pretty consistent, has a little bit of that boost on the rice, and we're starting to see consistent 800Ks on all of these, accuracy-based rice picks that we're seeing. We're more so seeing the difference between the team's ability to get really good accuracy on these maps and then pushing the physical boundaries where, stage 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 kind of get a little difficult to deal with.
Yeah, they do have some merit for especially for the first two stages, especially getting 1.6 and 1.6 in the Mini Short and Vortex is well, impressive. Show they have shown some decent tech scores here, especially for Vortex. It's also very hard to get impressive scores overall.
Absolutely. That's seed number 36. Seed number 35 is going to be Italy, another two-man team. We're going to actually see quite a few of these, with countries having a little bit of trouble just building up the number of players they need. But as we get to higher seeded teams, it's going to be less common. But Italy, number 35, Caleb and Lorak there, showing a pretty good performance on Aurora there. We've been talking a lot about that map in particular, and that is pretty impressive coming out, getting that 800k average.
Yeah, also for Vortex, actually, there's been quite a bit of spike for Vortex as well. We're getting from like 1.6, and now we're entering to like 1.73 territory, which not a lot to say about it, but I guess the overall rise scores here are really good.
Absolutely, but that is seed 35. Seed number 34 is Finland there. Mafe and Mazzuli, another two-man squad. Looking to be a little bit more consistent. It has some really solid scores in the middle of the road there with the long notes and hybrids. And those scores are starting to climb up, but a lot of these teams very close together still.
It's interesting to see that even the scores are getting a lot more consistent than like the previous team scores. Having to get like around almost 1.8, even in like Vortex and Altair, is a tough competitive spot to be in, especially when you're competing for the top 24 here.
Yeah, extremely competitive, but we can move forward from Finland onto number 33, which is Singapore here. We've got Sky the Dum Dum, Howard Dong, Japinius, and Skidio there as the squad. Pretty consistent placements overall. That 30 on stage 1. Good accuracy from this team, mashed up on Stargazer as well.
Yeah, what I've been showing is that the even though like the early game charts like Mini Short and Vortex shown to be a lot higher here, important to note that also Aurora seems to be like the lowest that we've seen so far outside of the bottom 3 teams here.
Absolutely, yeah. But that is Singapore at number 33. We'll move on to 32 at Ecuador, another 4-man squad with Guile, something along those lines. Edward, T. Wolf, and Steven. Still, we're inching closer and closer to hitting that top 30 mark in some of these. We have 3 ranked 30s. It looks like Ecuador actually has quite a bit of strength when it comes to those later game mechanics and physicality, but just wasn't enough to push them as far forward as they needed to be.
Yeah, I think late game chart they would shine like a lot more in this, especially when Ecuador signs up for the next year. So maybe it's some tough scores to watch out for once Ecuador actually qualifies for next year, hopefully.
Yeah, but that is Ecuador at 32. Seed 31 is Switzerland. Akero leading the charge there with NC, 2BP, and Senkyu. Still hovering right around that low 30s range for all of these maps. Number 30 on Stargazer there and Altair. So showing some strength in that earlier game mechanics and accuracy, but not doing too bad on the later game maps as well.
Yeah, strong showing for the first 3 stages there because it's 1.7 all across the board. Maybe showing some weakness on the Stargazer in particular, which I believe it would wreck. It did wreck some teams, especially like in the bottom ones. So it's no surprising at all.
Yeah, but they are coming away with seed number 31. Seed number 30 for this tournament is Mexico, another 2-man squad, Kopi and Dex. Finally seeing some 20 numbers here, 26 on Stargazer by Mexico, 28 on the accuracy, tech map mini short, and then 27 on phrase philosophy. So a bit of a mix of skill sets here by this Mexican team. Has solid long notes and really good accuracy, but falls apart a little bit when it gets to harder rice and hybrid type maps.
Yes, I believe like Vortex inching into like the 1.8 million there. Even on average 900k, just to be able to play on speed charts that inching towards that score. It's still like a number 30 is already insane.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're hitting top 30. We're going into the 20s in seeds with seed 29, Norway, Endrama, Fast, Ferdy Birdie, and Messiah there. Mostly all 20s, so we're starting to see a lot more consistency out of these teams. Norway, very consistent across the board. Lowest overall score was that 1.68 million on stage 8 there, and that is really impressive.
Now, remember when I said that Vortex, the last team was like around 1.8 million? This is already almost a 45,000 point difference, and that goes into like number 29. Like last team was like number 30, so it's actually really scary.
Starting to jump up in score here, but Norway unfortunately not qualifying with that number 29 seed. Only got 4 teams that are not qualifying left, and moving on to seed 28 with Colombia. Net, Soifan, and Ago, all in the top 30 ranges for their qualifiers. Very close together with that Vortex score from the previous team, but showing a lot of consistency throughout for these last few. And I think we can expect a lot more consistency as we start getting closer to the top seeds.
You know, now that's a tight spread for all of the charts there. Number 27, 28, 29, 26. Those are all tight spreads there. So even with Altair getting into like 1.86 million, that is like about number 27, which is kind of scary to see how the top 24 would be.
Getting high. Having to average 930k just to get 27th on that is insane. But that is seed 28, 3 seeds left. Seed 27 is New Zealand. Robates, Do You Fart, and Kit there. Seeing some pretty impressive scores on the accuracy side of things, but it looks like the long notes and the higher difficulty maps got to be a little too much for New Zealand, just on the edge of qualifying here.
Yeah, the Stargazer has been like a lower score so far, but I get the Vortex though. We're almost reaching to 1.9 here, even that it's still like number 25. So we'll see how the other better 3 teams that are just falls short to it.
Yeah, just 2 teams left. Number 26 is going to be Czechia, Tipudo, Kuhari, and Grill Roasted. Got some strong play. We're starting to see some more strong names. We saw Cairo earlier in this low seed. We got Grill Roasted here in this 26th seeded team, and more consistency, but especially up on those higher difficulty maps with Aurora, Phrase Philosophy, and Cthulhu all being very strong scores, all individually qualifying in the top 24.
If the first 5 stages would have been number 24, this team would have qualified, because number 24 is like the bare minimum reach that.
So close, but only one more team left that isn't qualifying. The most tragic seed of them all, seed 25. And I feel so bad about this. Macau, seed 25. Yeah. I do need to mention they were seed 24 until the very last qualifier lobby, and they got knocked out there.
Yeah,
very tragic.
Very unfortunate to see, even though Phrase Philosophy, the dense Allen chart, is also really good too. It's like 1.88. It's even like almost breaching to the top 20 scores, top 20 team score there. And even though with Altair with 1.9, that's still not in the number 24 either.
It just ended up being that the Aurora and Cthulhu kind of bringing them down, and that was really everything else was competitive with the qualifiers. But that is going to be our final non-qualifier in Macau. If you haven't heard your country come up and you were in one of the lobbies, congratulations, you have qualified. But now we'll be deciding who faces who in the round of 24 and who will be getting that bye from the top 8 seeds.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we're moving on to the number 24, which is the almost getting knocked out early on. And it's Portugal, which is by 3-man team by Rodrigo, Sunegg, and Diaccident. And this is already a tight spread for even at number 24, which conquers even more on Altair and Mini Short in particular, getting to almost a breaching top 20. And I guess that what carries them out is that the Energy Synergy Matrix and Aura has shown really strong showing, but it is still very close.
Very strong Rice players overall, having really good accuracy on Mini Short there and Energy Synergy Matrix, like you said. But that is going to be our first qualifier at seed 24. Seed 23 is going to be Spain. Lucas Catoen, Shiro I'm not going to say the rest of that. I'm not going to worry about it. And ERA Mini Crimmy getting the 23rd seed, having a very strong showing. The first top 20 we've seen on Vortex there, needing to average that 950K just to get in top 20.
Also worth mentioning that this Spanish team does not have Aitor like from last year. So even though without Aitor, they still managed to qualify just barely even with those. And getting Altair with 0.92 is already like an almost top 20 spot there.
Absolutely, and that's going to be seed 23. Seed 22 is going to be Denmark. Fritz, Stoom, Joel, and Melon. Some pretty old names there. Joel in particular. Been around in the community a long time, qualifying at seed number 21 with a very good accuracy score on Vortex. And pretty consistent placements outside of just that map. So we could definitely see some leaning towards like speed and accuracy from this team in the tournament and kind of avoiding the higher skill ceiling kind of maps that we'll be seeing.
Yeah, Denmark did not qualify from last year, so it's actually I'm very happy to see that this team was able to make sure they can actually play even further, like into the like around the 24 later, and especially though like 1.93 on Vortex, that is almost the top 16 material there.
Absolutely, but that is going to be C21, C22. We'll move into C21 as Estonia, another two-man squad, getting it done with just, I believe, the first two-man squad that has made it into the qualifying teams. Arkexio and Hisela showing some strong performances. Altair and Stargazer are both at number 19 and very, very close to that top 20 on a couple more with Aurora, Phrase Philosophy, and Cthulhu. So good late game ability, maybe falling a little bit short on the accuracy side of things, but we'll need to leverage that to see if they can move on.
You know what's mind-blowing about this though? Given even Estonia reaching to like number 21 seed, Arkexio did get a top 2 scores on Stargazer, getting a 991k over that, and that alone carries that a whole lot.
Yeah, extremely impressive scores there, and managing to make it into the qualifiers. We'll have our top 20 seeds coming here, with first starting with number 20. Sweden, we got Crady, Erase Self, Yoshiori, and Sad Cat. A lot of some more names that I personally recognize from being a part of this game a long time, and an extremely impressive Vortex score. These guys are going to be scary on that early game accuracy.
Not only early game accuracy, their rides have also been pretty consistent across. Almost 1.9 million on every single rise charge in this qualifier. Even 1.94 Vortex is also a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not want to face these guys in round of 24. So good luck to whoever's facing them. But we can move on to seed number 19. And that's going to be France. We've got Moquette, Jerem, Elementaires, and Milla. We have our first top 10 score.
Yeah, there it is. That's solely of an LN chart. That is the top 8 already.
Yeah. Top 8, and then pretty consistent throughout the rest, staying around that 19 to 20 range for the most part. Doing very well on Cthulhu as well with that number 17 score. So we could definitely see some good hybrid action coming out from France if they feel up to that going into round of 24. But that is seed 19. We'll move into seed 18, which is Germany. We got Skia Whiskers, Vinces, Sinkip, and Susher with another top 10 score on the board.
Yeah, that is Aurora, which 1.9, almost 1.96 on the core stream chart. That is already very hard to contend with. Is averaging 980, so I believe that would be like just 2 FCs, like literally on that one team.
Yeah, I mean 980k average for that. That's really impressive for that. Yeah. But good job to Germany on that. Another scary team for, getting good accuracy on those kinds of maps and staying consistent. But that is seed 18. We'll move into seed 17. That's going to be Taiwan, our second two-person squad. Hero, Jeff, and Eggtart. No top 10 scores here, but very consistent, staying around that 16 mark with a number 12 on Energy Synergy Matrix as well.
Yeah, did fall a bit short on Vortex, especially on that speed chart here. Almost almost not into like 1.9 million, but even then, the other scores helped them out for getting into the seed 17 there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are moving into our top 16 now. We've got the Netherlands with Freak Tyronics outlasted some recognizable names there, and some more consistency. No top 10s, but they've got that number 12 on Stargazer, and staying around the number 16, just like the previous seed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Given that Stargazer has been reaching the top 12 though, I mean, Phrase Philosophy getting into 1.9, that's already like a top 16. So I'm kind of scared to see how the other scores for Phrase Philosophy would scale up until then.
Yeah, absolutely. But with that, we'll move into seed 15, and that's going to be the United Kingdom with Yuzi Vigatron, Captain Crow, and Zifla. We've got 2 number 10 ranks. We got Vortex and Energy Synergy Matrix, so we can definitely see this team going for some heavy focus on the Rice side of things, given those 2 scores.
Yeah, 1.94 and 1.92 on the top 10s, and especially even they're still not don't count United Kingdom out on the easier hybrids there. 1.94 on the Altair is already a force to be reckoned with, to be some teams there, and you probably don't want to face United Kingdom, especially when we get into maybe like around 24 there, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to see what happens with all these seeds shaking out, but that's seed 15. We'll move into seed 14, Indonesia, a team that is very strong in Mania, is historically very strong in Mania. Dominance, Onta Bakassi, Lynx, and Violence. We've got another top 10. We've got Stargazer with the number 10 and Phrase Philosophy at number 9. So we could definitely see some long note play coming out from this team. First time we've seen particular strength with the long notes from these teams. And a number 9 performance on that high-end, difficult long note map Phrase Philosophy. Very impressive.
Yeah, more of the LN-focused team we've seen so far, but although given the hybrids though, I feel like 1.94 in Altair, and even Stuhu with 1.87, which is there's gonna be some strategy going on for Indonesia if they're running out of LN picks in particular.
Absolutely, but that will be it for seed 14. Seed 13 is going to be Vietnam, Hitori, Fishcake, Saren, Shikino, and Moni. Getting the seed 13 with no top 10 performances, so managing to pass up Indonesia despite not having any number 9 or number 10 plays, but 2 number 11s on Stargazer and Phrase Philosophy, another team that seems to have a slight edge on those long notes.
Yeah, we're reaching to almost all 1.9 million across every charts here, and Vietnam is almost the closest one to get that. And Stargazer and Energy Synergy Matrix is just 100 points short, and that's still like about 5 rank difference there.
Yeah, it's scores are going to be very, very close for these top seeds. But that's seed 13. Seed number 12 is going to be Poland. Begjet. I was really hoping that these names were going to be easier to pronounce. Begjetka, Bijek, and the Dark Dragon. I know I pronounced the first 2 wrong. I don't need to worry about that. But 3 top 10 performances, all on the later end stuff. Aurora, Phrase Philosophy, number 6 and number 8, and then Cthulhu at number 10. Not really too surprising, given especially with the Dark Dragon there. I think Begjetka also very strong on those late game maps. So those 2 carrying the way with stage 6, 7, and 8. Falling a little bit short on the accuracy side of things, though.
Yeah, there are some deviation, especially for the LN side of things, because Phrase Philosophy has been showing it in the top 8, but Stargazer has a much lower score, and that's not even like in the top 16 even. And so it's gonna be if there are some long note charts that are really low star ratings in particular, this Poland probably might have some trouble with it.
Yeah, but we'll get to that with when the pool comes around. But that's number 12. We're going to seed number 11. It's going to be the Russian Federation. Got X-Devil, Timebuka, or Timebuka, however you pronounce it, Meiju, and Karez. Wow, what are these placements?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. 11-15, 11-15, 7, 11, 15, 11. That is wildly
thing
consistent.
going on
yeah,
here.
That's very interesting. But regardless, very consistent across the board. No one skill set seems to be popping out to me as particularly strong for the Russian Federation. But that number 7 on Energy Synergy Matrix, gotta have that strong Rice capability.
Yeah, especially with the Aurora as well, which I guess that makes sense because Energy Synergy Matrix with Aurora almost plays the same physical role in itself, but already getting like about 1.94 is already really impressive, and that is still like a seed 11. So we're entering the top 10s now. So
yeah, top 10 qualifiers. The next two will have to play in the round of 24, starting with number 10, the United States. Mashu Tasty Dumpling, Potato, and Bunsen. Missing two big names that have been pretty much the rock of the United States in Stupid Man and Alter. Also missing Turney from the last couple of years. So I don't know how many people expected this team to be super strong, but getting that number 10 spot, 4 different single-digit placements plus 2 number 10s, just falling a little bit short on Energy Synergy Matrix and Aurora.
Yeah, one thing to note is that even the United States has very solid all like number 9s and number 8s there, and I believe Stargazer would be the star of it, even though it's still number 9, because one of these players, especially for the United States, they better have to look out on the replacement of Turney, which I believe that would be Tasty Dumpling. There has a really strong showing on Stargazer.
Absolutely, but that'll move us further into single-digit qualifiers, and the last team that will have to play in round of 24 before we get into the buys, and that will be Brazil. Tart BTW, Lothus Fangirl, Casio Fangirl, and a Silly Fangirl. We've got a little bit of a naming convention going on here, but extremely strong accuracy team, especially in the Rice department.
Yeah, these are the first top 3, and Miniature getting above almost 1.97. All very leaning towards Rice, but you really don't count the hybrids out. Even though the Allen weaknesses becomes more apparent with Stargazer phrase philosophy, but these are shy of the top 8.
Yeah, just barely outside of that buy range, but we will start moving into the 8 teams that will get a buy for this upcoming weekend. And now
get a free pass.
Get a free pass. Number 8 is going to be Australia. A huge improvement from last year. Adding Ruka onto the team definitely maybe gave them the boost they needed, but it shouldn't. Don't count out the rest of this team. They are significantly better than last year, and that number 8 seeding really shows it, especially with 6 different single-digit rankings on their qualifiers, just falling short on stage 3 and 5 there.
All 1.9 million plus on every single chart, and really, I personally know Australia well because of the other 3 additions to the team, which I believe that would be Op4, My Angel Zila, and Ruka there. And last year, they do not have these 3 players. And Boundary in particular has been like the captain from like last year, and this is already a massive improvement. And they get a free pass for the next week. So congratulations to Australia.
They will not have to worry about being knocked out in the first weekend, and they're the first team with that honor. Number 7 will be the second team here, which is Canada with Dale 940, Harambe, Nuno Taba, Shinobu, and Mr. Moo with some very impressive showings. Only one map that they didn't get top 10 in, being Aurora. And just as a note, Mr. Moo got 2 number 1s, like individual scores on both of the long note charts.
That's pretty much inhuman to think about. And given Stargazer is the star of the scores for Mr. Moo, getting a 993 on individual score, and even then, that's still backed up by the other player who also has got like around 967-ish score, and that nets him up number 4 on Stargazer.
Yeah, extremely impressive showing on the long notes there. You don't want to run into them with any kind of long note map.
No, not in any capacity.
That is for sure. But that's number 7 at Canada. We'll go into number 6 here, which is going to be Thailand. Lost Cool, Kenzie, Natsurio, and Palm. Familiar names, Lost Cool and Kenzie, both very strong players, joined by also very strong players in Natsuria and Fall.
Yeah.
Again, only one map where they didn't get that top 10 placement in the qualifiers being Vortex. So maybe a little bit of weakness in early game kind of accuracy type games, but they don't have to worry about at least round of 24. So they get a little bit of freedom not having to worry about super, super high-end accuracy.
Yeah, especially for Natsuria. I believe they also participated like last year as well, and this is already a huge improvement from Thailand, even though it's only like a 1 seed above the last year. Getting number 3 on Aurora, which is like about 198, that's most certainly 2 FCs there, 990 average.
Yeah, very, very impressive scores coming out of Thailand. But we'll move into the top 5 here, starting with number 5. It is going to be Japan, Ensana, Butanic, Rain Lily, and So. Been a lot of buzz about this team. Butanic coming up. We got 2 number 1s from Japan here, both on
2
Rice
number
maps.
1s and 2 number 2s.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Butanic, well-known Rice player at this point, did get a number 1 score on, I believe, stage 2. I'd actually have to look back at that again, but still, this team is really strong. Looks like they have a little bit of a weakness on long notes, but everything else is game over.
Yeah, the Allen weakness becomes more apparent when you look at the scores side by side there. Like all number 1s and number 2s. The hybrid is also all number 7s. So it's getting even more... it's actually getting weird to see that how lopsided the Allens and the Rise are.
Yeah, so I think their team's gonna the teams that are facing Japan will have a pretty straightforward read on what they need to pick, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy to take them down, especially with those dominant scores on Rice.
And yeah, we're moving on to top 4, and oh boy, top 4 is
yeah, number 4 is a surprise to me, but
yeah.
Number 4 seeding will be Philippines, our winners from last year, dropping down to number 4. They are missing Barry, which might be what prompted this drop to number 4. But still, very strong showing. All top 10, all top 8 scores on these. Lowest is on Energy Synergy Matrix, but showing some dominance when it comes to higher end hybrids and just long notes in general.
Yeah, they didn't show like all the best of things for all the charts in particular, but even then, that's still like about top 8, and Stargazer being the star of this, the qualifier run so far, getting in the top 3, which I believe is like around 1.95, which averaging 980 almost. Yeah. And that's still rather weird to see Philippines now dropping to number 4, but then that's still like a team to watch out for in the late game, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't let them get too far in this tournament; they will tear you up. But that's seed number 4. Top 3 are podium seed placements here. Seed number 3 is Malaysia. Finished in 3rd place last year as well. Just a 2-person squad. Just Neo and Chiwi.
Yeah, so the benefits for the 2-man team for Malaysia is that you really don't need to worry about the 3rd player, essentially. So they'll be keeping the same 2 players for the entire map pool, and this is the result. Top 2 on Altair. Top 3 on 3 occasions, which is Energy Synergy Matrix, Race Philosophy, and Stuhu. So you really don't want to play hybrids against them.
Yeah, very, very strong hybrid team there. And very good at just kind of late game stuff in general. Aurora a little bit far behind. Seems to be a little bit of a weakness on that Rice side of things, but everything else is not going to be easy to take these guys down. Yeah,
surprisingly, even the early game has shown a little bit weaker than like the most late game, so that would be something to look out for.
Definitely something to look out for, but they won't be playing next weekend, so they don't have to have the top score in accuracy to feel confident with where they are. But that is seed 3. We've got 2 seeds left. Seed number 2, perhaps not surprising given their history, but they were on a little bit of a lowdown streak over the last couple of years, but made it back at seed number 2 is China. Satori, Van Wilder, Turks, and King Jiding. Coming there. No number 1 performances, but nothing below top 4 either.
Yeah. No, only number 2s, number 3s, and number 4s. And yeah, it's all 1.96 and above. Oh, I mean, I guess Energy Synergy Matrix and Aurora has a, I guess, couple hundred points short, but that's your seed number 2, all things considered. And
Yeah.
even, well, everything else so far about China is just, it seems really strong. You really can't pick out that much of a weakness in the qualifier. So
Yeah,
even
not
still not a weakness too.
But that'll lead us to seed number 1. No one's surprised ever about this.
No one either.
No one's ever surprised about this. But it's seed number 1. It's going to be South Korea. Did not win last year, but did place number 1 in the seeding last year, I believe. Got second place, falling to the Philippines in the final round. 2 number 2 placements and 6 number 1 placements.
Three quarters of a map pool gets number 1, and yeah, the rest of them are number 2. Not even lower than number 3.
The only team to beat South Korea on anything in this qualifier set was Japan.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that would make sense that South Korea versus Japan is a possibility, but even then, the qualifier scores did not really showing anything to us, as you can completely tell that it's immediately obvious.
Yeah,
so we're gonna have to see South Korea on the late game in particular.
Yeah, that stage 6 score is disgusting. That is an average score of 997.5k.
Yeah, that alone is already like about 99.90+% of both players, essentially.
Sure is, but that is going to round out our seedings. We've got our top 8 getting the bye for next week. We've got seeds 9 through 24 playing in the round of 24 next weekend. And I mean, there's not much left to do other than move on into our round of 24 Mappool Showcase to give us an idea of what these players are going to be going for, going to be facing each other with next weekend.
Yeah, that's all that is left for the, even with the seed reveal there. The number 9 to up until number 24, which have to be playing against each other in the round of 24 Mappool Showcase. Let's just say that the map pool itself is still really challenging, especially when you compare it to like last year. So you really don't want to catch a breather, especially.
Yeah, I think something just to kind of mention about this map pool compared to last year, it is an extra pool, so there's going to be a little bit of different difficulty scaling compared to last year. But round of 24, I'd say, is slightly easier than round of 16 from last year. I think the difficulty is going to start ramping up to either even out or be a little bit harder than last year overall.
Yeah, it's historically has been to be at least a bit easier than like the qualifier counterpart. Although qualifier does have some more of the early game stuff, but this is more leaning to the early game stuff in the round of 24. So hopefully the teams that are really strong in the early game should have no problems encountering these map pool.
Yeah, absolutely not. But without further ado, we can move into the first map of our Mappool Showcase. We'll be going into in a similar order to what we saw from Forky MWC. We'll start with the Rice, move into the long notes, and then the hybrids. But we got Luminaria by Lime, our Rice 1 map for
the Rice 1 is 24. Going to be this more speedy-ish chart here, almost similar to like the F777 from like the qualifier, except this is a little bit more varying degrees of speed because the snaps are kind of changing in itself.
Yeah, that beginning part has a few changes where it goes into 1/3. There's a few extra 1/3 changes later on, but they aren't like detrimental to the flow of the map, I think. I think as long as you're capable of reading through them just fine, you shouldn't have any issues. It might cause a little bit of an accuracy break if you don't fully notice that the 1/3 patterns are there, but it shouldn't cause too many issues for these players. What I did find is that it's not very dense, but it is fast enough to mess you up if you make a misread.
Yeah, I think it's still very easy to misread some of these because the snaps by itself is already varied enough to the point that you really don't want to sharpshoot way too heavily on this one.
Yeah, sharpshooting can definitely be very difficult on maps like this, especially with the low density and high speed. And with what I always notice is that it can be a little bit difficult to read exactly where notes come from when you have like, you can see throughout this that they're separated, there's columns between the notes that are empty. And that can kind of mesh things up together, but the players who qualified for this tournament shouldn't have any issues reading through it.
Yeah, you also did get some breather here and there, especially when once you get into the last quarter into it. But once that things to kick in, I believe that would be probably the more meatier of the chart, even though some has some difficult patterns on the screen by itself, even if there's some mini anchor there.
Mind the minor speed up in that section that we just saw, though, by the way, because it does change BPM slightly there. Goes back into just what we were seeing before with this speed map. A few doubles and triples throughout, but nothing to make it too dense. Just kind of focus on the stream accuracy and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and that pretty much just about wraps up for Liminaria, our speed pick for round of 24 here. And I believe we're going to be moving on to our next Rice pick here. I believe it's going to be Rice 2. And this is probably an Osu original, which we see on the last year's World Cup or something. Tails DK's Range Drop here. A course stream pick. I guess the similar thing that would be in comparison to would be Primitrix from like last year.
Yeah, definitely.
Vibe to it.
It has a similar vibe to it. I think the patterning and density is easier on this for sure, but it's the chord stream map. It's going to be relatively simple. I think a lot of the players in this are going to feel like this is very comfortable. It really is just a difference between whether you can read the density or if you can't.
Well, as far as core stream go, this is just Primitrix does have the same vibe of nothing really spikes too much into it, although maybe the layer maybe slightly changes to be a little bit more difficult, but this literally has the exact same pattern structure into it, except this is a little bit faster, but maybe lighter, so
definitely lighter.
There's nothing too surprising here.
Yeah, there's a couple of difficult sections in this. I think the ending definitely bumps the density up just a little bit. I believe the ending has a little bit more of a double stream focus. You can see a little bit of those double stream bursts throughout this, but the ending definitely pushes the envelope on that.
I mean, as far as the chords go, like around like a 4-note chord for every single bass kick, there is it's definitely one thing to watch out for, especially when you try to sharpshoot this. And even then, the seed number 9 to seed 24 will have a decent time, especially for Germany, I feel, because Germany has a really good Aurora score on this. So maybe sharpshooting is a deadly pick for them.
Yeah, it could be. I think most teams should be fine with sharpshooting. As far as like this specific map goes, definitely easier than Aurora was, so I wouldn't be surprised to see teams a lot more comfortable. And now we're starting to see a little bit denser of streams right at the end here. Could cause some chokes, but again, I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue. I think this is going to be pretty popular throughout for this, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't really know what goes through the heads of these players sometimes, and I've been proven wrong on this so many times.
Yeah, and well, that's our Rise 2 pick, and we're moving on to our, I believe, I guess saying this as a core jack pick might be a bit of a stretch, but our Rise 3 pick, Flashdance by Litmus. This is started by Jinjin, and as far as core jack goes, this is different because the speed is 130 BPM, which is quite fast actually for around a 24.
Yeah,
but the structure of this is really, really kind of weird if you don't play like a speed cortex.
Yeah, I think this is. I would put an asterisk on chord jack for this. It has the hand motion, like you have the right hand motions to be a chord jack pick, but it's not really stamina draining in any real meaningful way. There's just really awkward kind of jack and mini jack patterns throughout this, and a couple of long jacks on that 130. I think there should not be any issues with players keeping up with this for the most part. I think the coordination of this is where the difficulty really comes out. And for teams that are really comfortable at this is going to be an absolute brutal sharpshooting kind of map. I would not be surprised to see 997s on this in any match.
Oh yeah, I mean, given then, like even the hand motions like this, it's a bit hard to tell just by looking at the chart alone, because you really have to play it just to get a sense to feel how this would actually play and contain within the chart itself. Because the hand motions are, it does keep changing altogether from one hand, and for some reason there's a two hand like that. So you really have to get it to play a little bit more for that.
Yeah, but there's not really much else to say. It's kind of an unorthodox chord jack map. It's not straight chord jacks. You get like beat long breaks all throughout most of the entire chart, and a lot of the like jacky sections kind of give you off beats where some of the transitions between notes aren't even jacks. So it should be pretty comfortable, I think.
Yeah, I'd say this is more akin to like the what's that, like 8 Dan chart, which is like Overworld, I believe, in the 7-key Dan course, which I believe that would have the similar vibe between it. Just because this is slower than that, but it's still really hard to contend with.
Yeah, but that'll be Rice 3. We'll be moving into our next Rice pick, Rice 4. It's going to be Banca. This one and Rice 5 are both, I think, could fall under tech. This is like the dedicated tech pick, though. And this one's really interesting. Most of the map is not physically difficult, but the snappings on all these notes are not easy to get good accuracy on. And then there's 2 sections where it gets very, very dense. So you cannot even just focus on accuracy the whole time.
Yeah, saying this technical is kind of an understatement. And given how sporadic the chart really is, the patterns by itself, you really can't even predict what's the next section is going to be. It's all different each time. Some mini jacks, some are burst even.
Yeah, and you can even just hear in the music these piano notes definitely not following a specific rhythm. And then it starts building up. We get a few of these doubles coming up. Still not too hard, and then it just speeds up.
Yeah.
This is where you kind of almost let go of the accuracy part of it and just make sure you're hitting the notes right. And then it goes right back to needing to get good accuracy on some awkward rhythms.
Maybe some people would probably directly comparing this to mini short from like the qualifier, like we saw on the last week. But I'd say this is probably wilder just because the snaps are different each time, and the mini jacks by itself is already pretty difficult to contend with.
Yeah, absolutely. Some more difficult patterns here. Less focused on rhythm, more focused on the higher speeds and density. And then, like I said, one extra section where it's going to be a little bit difficult. And then I believe that's just the end of the chart.
Yeah, it's really just I guess when you see technical charts like this, you really don't want to get a rest for that, because the ending kind of spikes a little bit there, especially with the stage 4 mini jack at some points.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's going to be our first technical pick. We'll be moving into Rice 5, our last Rice pick, and the other technical pick. This is more of mixed Rice, though. Very large variety of differing patterns in this chart.
It's just wild card Rice. It's got everything except it's just Rice, but there's a lot of diversity comes into this, especially when you consider if you combine screen pick and this attack pick and some speedier sections like this, yeah, you get this basically.
Yeah, so we've got some bursts here at the beginning. We saw some mini jacks earlier on, and the ending starts bringing in a much denser kind of chord stream type pick. So you can't focus on just the technical elements. It does have more straightforward parts of it where you'll want to build up that accuracy. But having a transition between those more technical bursty patterns and then this kind of lighter chord stream section is maybe not something that's going to be too easy.
Yeah, I guess this would be fairly justified to see that this may be the hardest in terms of physicality-wise, but I guess that would be true for some of the other Rice picks that we've seen so far. But this is definitely some breather into it, so you really it's just a matter of transitioning to some patterns very quickly when it happens.
and with like how often it changes kind of styles and has these technical patterns, especially with how difficult some of them are, I'd almost call this the most physically demanding Rice map in this pool. So this could definitely be something, kind of sought after as a pick for some of the higher seeds, closer to that 9-10 range with Brazil and the United States. Could definitely see them liking a pick like this when they're facing off against teams that are maybe not quite as strong on the higher end physicality.
Yeah, the rest of the chart just stays that way. Even though there's some pattern changes, like from going from core street to speedier, and even some tech being thrown in for good measure. So it just really does not have a lot to say about in particular. Maybe some transition change, but that's pretty much all there is to it for this last Rice pick.
Yeah, just a little bit of an outro here, bringing back those bursts. And a little bit more of that light jump stream. It does feel like this goes on for a little bit longer. It is 2 minutes and 30 seconds, one of the longer maps in this pool, outside of the tiebreaker, of course. But 2 minutes and 30 seconds certainly doable for these players. But that is going to close out our Rice pool.
Yeah, and oh boy, the next one is we're entering into the non-Rice pick, and this is your yearly April 14 almost, but we got Theme 37 by Mappool Syrup, 2 stars. That's essentially what this is.
2 stars, 626 max combo, don't miss.
Literally don't miss, and a nice BPM to boot. I guess only 7 as well, so might be tight on the timing releases.
This is going to be ban bait. This is 100% ban bait.
Well, I mean, considering the fact that every single team that are strong in Stargazer, they really want to protect this.
Yeah, you could definitely say that. I could see that happening. But like I said, 626 max combo is real tough because you miss and you might lose like 40,000 points, like off one miss.
I mean, especially if there's a multiple slider breaks into this. You have to contend this for 2 minutes long, so essentially you really don't have the time to think and just hold them and release them as once you see it.
I don't know what else to really say about this. The coordination requirement on this is absolutely ridiculous. Even for good long note players, I think. Turney's doing really good, but they are very well known for being able to play this kind of coordination.
I mean, no shot. Given Turney is really, really really skilled at coordination and stuff like this. Even April 14, Turney did really get a really good score on it, like a double S on it on V1. So there's that.
Yeah, but this is our yearly April 17 or April 14th. We got our 2-star map that's harder than most of the rest of the pool. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Although I would question about the song choice in particular because this is way too calm for an April 14. I guess Blue Archive soundtrack does give it to you, though.
Sometimes it's just gotta be like that. But that's our first long note map. 70 BPM.
No more April 14.
we're not doing any more of that coordination stuff. We've got our density long note pick. This is Chronoxia, our long note 2, and OD6, so a lot easier to handle accuracy wise. And I think just as kind of far as these goes, this is going to be the most approachable long note map for pretty much everyone.
I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense to me as to why this has lower OD than that one. This is charted by Legio, by the way, not no name, as you can immediately tell from the difficulty name. So this is pretty much your standard LN density pick, kind of like Prayer Philosophy, but this is way easier than that.
Yeah, much easier than Praise Philosophy. There's almost no kind of coordination necessary for this, other than your basic kind of reading and. I don't even know how to really say this properly, but you don't need too much coordination in the same way that you would for LN1, of course. So most players should be able to approach this. I think it's going to be the easiest for Rice players to feel confident in.
It's also relatively short too, so you really don't get much of a breather outside from this actually from this section. But other than that, it just kicks a gear into motion like this. And you get more into that denser Ellen section.
Yeah, it does get a little bit denser here, but still nothing that I think that will worry anyone who feels comfortable with these kinds of long notes. I would say that this is the kind of thing that a lot really good long note teams might want to avoid. It's certainly on their pick list, but it's not going to be their first choice when they're really good at long notes. But it is going to be the kind of thing that I think really good Rice teams are going to have chances to break a point on.
Yeah, so I guess that's the luxury of having a well-rounded skill set, especially for if you can play the Rise. You can certainly have a chance of playing this, especially when the structure is simple and to the point that they can actually play it as you would normally play like a Rise pick.
Yeah, but that's going to be our long note 2. We've got our last long note pick coming up, and it's going to be Crush Alcohol, met by Makiba.
Shoutouts to Malt for having this pick in that tournament, and this is probably I guess same difficulty, although a little bit harder. But this got the structure to a point that this almost feels like pretty much an LN mix, as it says on the thing.
But it definitely doesn't require quite as much coordination as LM1 did, but it does still have some amount of coordination. I think the first half especially will show a bit more requirement in terms of that coordination, especially this section here. Those are not easy patterns to get. I don't know if they look easy, but there's shields. There's a few, like having to hold down the long notes through as extra ones start coming along and having to like stagger the releases is definitely very difficult.
There's some bits of Running Man 7 keys going on here on that one.
Yeah, something to note though is that once you get out of this first section, the coordination kind of takes a back seat. It starts being more about the density and especially the ending Kiai. Very straightforward to get good accuracy on. Very straightforward to kind of bring your accuracy back up to maybe a level that feels better.
Yeah, it's almost all just kind of buffer, but not really. I guess the coordination does kick into gear when these patterns are definitely on the more diverse side of things, but especially when you consider the fact that this is almost the same feel as like the element density pick that we've shown on that we've seen. So, especially when towards the ending, if you do lose focus on the ending, you're gonna have a harder time recovering.
Yeah, this ending definitely gonna be certainly a little bit more of a break from the coordination side of things. I think this is gonna be very comfortable, and I think most people should be able to build up their accuracy from this section.
Yeah, these are really sporadic 3-node LN chord stream. Just to throw it into gear, there's some bits of 1-4 here and there. But once you get to the end, you really don't stop with your coordinating your LNs, because there's some one LN being whole, and then the rest of the bit are just chord stream almost.
Yeah, just a little bit to kind of spice it up towards the end, but that will be it for our long note pool there with Crush Alcohol.
Yeah, that is it. And yeah, all that's left is just the hybrid and the tiebreaker. And we're moving on to the first hybrid. I guess the Altair pick of the round of 24. This is Cosmoscape by No Name. Also, the difficulty is pretty much just a nod on the qualifier itself. But this is a hybrid that is pretty much almost plays like an Altair. Just easier.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I do think that this kind of shows... kind of bluffs you a little bit at the beginning, because the start of this map is not too difficult. It's real straightforward, and then like about halfway through it starts showing its true colors and gets actually quite difficult to handle. But even then, I think these players are going to be fine on this.
I mean, as far as BPM goes, this is relatively slow for a hybrid like this, so maybe even though the Rice pad is maybe simpler and maybe easier to get, but the Alice may be tougher because of the lower BPM that you have to release some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing too difficult here. Still maintaining a very straightforward structure here. These can be a little tricky to get good accuracy and hold combo on. But yeah, right about here is where it starts getting a little bit more difficult to hold on to it, especially if you're not so strong on the hybrid side of things.
Yeah, you might tank some of the LN core shape that are just goes ascending double stairs and descending double stairs like that, but at some point you really have to coordinate like these one of the repeated two LN holding properly. Might actually lose the focus right there, and it would be really bad if that happens.
Definitely very possible to lose focus there, especially with the long notes and the rise kind of swapping which one happens first. The rhythm's a little bit weird to get right, but then the ending definitely kind of bumps it up a little bit with that LN coordination required.
It bumps with every two note chord that are now LNs basically. So you kind of have to hold one side and getting the chord shape and the LNs right, one after the other.
Yeah, I could definitely see things swapping towards the end of this map, because a lot of the first half is just going to be like making sure you keep your accuracy, but that ending can definitely cause misses. But that's going to be it for our first hybrid. We'll move into hybrid number 2. This one, I think, is the easiest. But take that with a grain of salt with some of the patterns throughout this. It could be kind of difficult to get good accuracy on, though the OD is very low at OD5. But this is going to be pure silver by Juha.
Yeah, I mean, OD5, there's a reason for that. It's just because while we label this as a technical hybrid, you kind of have to note that these has a lot of graces, and it's littered throughout this map.
Yeah, but outside of that, I think the patterns are extremely straightforward, which means that I think most teams are going to be able to put quite a bit of focus on making sure they get the graces correct and able to get decent accuracy on that. And like I said, OD5 makes those graces even easier to handle, but it doesn't mean they're going to be free.
Yeah, it's just all there is to it. Even though I guess the replay showcase did have some troubles on getting the timings right for the flams and whatnot. It's just really you have to really focus on maybe actually getting the graces right rather than timing it properly. You kind of can cheese it, but at that same level, when playing against teams, you kind of don't want to cheese it too much.
Yeah, this ending does, or at least the second half is a little bit harder than the rest of the map, so you do kind of have to watch out for that part of it. But it's still, like I said, I think this is the most straightforward hybrid, just with a big focus on making sure you can get the good accuracy on the flams.
And then just goes into more, a bit of a wacky as staggered releases almost. It's just really easy to lose focus on getting a lot of 200s on the LNs in particular.
Definitely is. Can definitely lose yourself, especially with the added rise difficulty that comes with this, even though it's very similar to what we were seeing earlier on.
There's not a whole lot to say other than maybe if you're using a skin that may actually has some detriment to getting the release timings properly, this might actually be a bit of a disadvantage. But other than that, it's just that's all there is to it for this pick. You really can't rest yourself into thinking that the LS might be easier just because you have a skin that helps your reading, but maybe not the accuracy.
Yeah, definitely got to be a little careful on that kind of stuff. But that's our second hybrid. We've got one hybrid left and one map left before the tiebreaker.
Yeah, and that would be, I believe that this is the most wild card of the wild card of the hybrids. And that's there to it. Freshest Vacation by Makiba. Well, there's not a whole lot to say for this pick in particular. It's just, if you took pure silver and you just mesh it in with Cosmos Gate, and you get this, basically.
There's just a lot of differing patterns throughout this. I think this is difficult in a similar way of of Hybrid 1 there, at least in the same kind of range. But this, I think, is a lot more consistent with its difficulty throughout, whereas Hybrid 1's difficulty was kind of spiked in a few places.
Yeah, especially with some of the elements that kind of doesn't release it on the next speed or so. It's just it's kind of tough to deal in, especially, and you have to contend with the other things as well in this chart. Maybe some of the anchors might be a little bit rough too.
Yeah, definitely throws a little bit of that coordination required. You have a few bursts that can be kind of difficult, and it feels the most hybridy of the hybrids to me. There's a lot of rice notes intertwined with these long notes, and it's going to take some good reading and some good just general hybrid capability to have strong scores here.
Yeah, you do get some breather right here, but that would just happen most of the time for every single song out there. It's just breather from the middle, and then once you start getting into the harder stuff, it just goes wild with everything. And that pattern as well is kind of it's kind of funny to time it properly, especially with the spacebar.
Yeah, definitely is a little bit funny. Continuing on with that general theme with a lot of kind of awkward rice patterns, got some bursts, and then this repeated pattern, don't mind block it please.
Yeah. it's definitely tough, and this could definitely be like the hardest hybrid, but it depends on your preference. If you really don't like flams a whole lot, then maybe this is the one. If you really don't like pure silver to be played in the tournament, you kind of don't want to bat it. There's still this, which is probably even funnier.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I think all these hybrids have their own levels of difficulty and could be a little bit of a sore spot for many players. But that's going to be all of our regular picks coming out of this pool, finishing with Hybrid 3. Just got one more map left, and that's going to be our tiebreaker.
Oh boy, the tiebreaker. It's pretty majestic, and when I say majestic, it's 12 times more majestic. This is a massive new crew, Majestic 12. This is almost 6 minutes, and well, it's just pretty much tie-breaking beat map.
This is a tiebreaker. That's all you need to know. The notes that we were given say banger. That's it.
That's all there is put in the notes.
And that's all you really need to know. It is a banger, and it is a tiebreaker. It's got a huge variety of patterns. Surprisingly, I'm not used to seeing this too much with 7-key tiebreakers, but there is quite a heavy focus on long note coordination in a couple of parts. Like this intro, not the easiest to get down if you don't have the right ability when it comes to like LN coordination.
Like even by the core stream itself is already a little bit of a step up on the layering, especially. Oh, that's also like some bits of speedier section that is pretty technical to get through, but it just runs into like this sort of a tiebreaker that is almost like 6 minutes. Yeah, it might be some there might be some focus that needs to be tested here.
Definitely is. It's definitely going to be the most stamina draining map in the pool. I believe the next shortest map in the pool is like 2 minutes and 50 seconds, if even that.
Yeah.
So big jump there. I mean, it makes sense. Kind of need these tiebreakers to be this long to test all the skill sets you can on top of stamina. Also noteworthy, this is definitely harder than pretty much everything in the pool. I think some people might argue that LN1 would be harder than this if they don't have the right kind of coordination available, but barring that kind of situation with some players, this is definitely the hardest map in the pool, and more akin to what we might see in round of 16 when we see that pool next weekend.
Oh yeah, this section right here is really pretty much of a spike than most of the LS we've seen so far. But there's some bits of kind of Stargazer situation, especially this. Even though this is faster than that, might be easier for some, but it's really annoying to deal with, especially if you go in a tiebreaker situation.
Yeah, just don't go to tiebreaker. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Do get a little bit of a break here. We're about a third of the way through.
by break, you really don't want to miss on the LNs.
Yeah, don't miss on the don't miss on the coordination LNs. Don't do that.
Or just don't.
The lunar module Eagle is again given a thorough checkout to ensure the functioning of all systems. As Armstrong and Aldrin prepare to seal themselves.
This will bring us into the second half of this chart. Worth noting, this is OD7, so it's not terrible as far as like getting good accuracy, but you see coming out of that coordination section is more coordination along those, more similar to the intro patterns that we saw. A little bit harder, I think, but not
does
too
a bit
much harder.
It's just kind of like a build-up, a similar build-up like from the we saw on the first like 1,000 notes or something. This is pretty much it. It's just literally the exact same structure, but we get to a little bit more chordy-ish, almost chord jack almost.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a chord jack section, slower than 140, I believe. So not too bad.
It's a 1/3. Oh my, that might be actually annoying because of the there's some 1/6 burst after the chord jack as well. It might be a little bit tricky to get through if you just only focusing on the chord jacks by itself.
Yeah, especially with these long notes coming in here, I found these long notes to be extremely difficult, more difficult than the earlier faster long note section that we saw. I think it definitely kind of highlights what I said earlier about how the long notes kind of play throughout this map, which is pretty coordination heavy throughout.
Oh, we're actually getting to the spicier stuff with a little bit of a slap. Oh, I guess a bit of a slap there. One hand. Well, actually, it's getting a little bit more annoying now to deal with because of the burst actually intertwined between the 1/3 section there.
Yeah, get a little bit more of a break here. A couple of small bursts there, but this is just going to be building up to this ending here.
I guess more into the speedier section, although there's some bits of anchoring going down there.
Yeah, a little bit denser in terms of the rice. I don't think this is the hardest of the rice that we see throughout the chart. And then it just brings in some long notes. I think this is also kind of a theme that we saw where each section kind of starts with a more rice-heavy version of the section, and then halfway through it adds long notes to make it more hybrid-y and long note heavy. So you see that throughout pretty much the entire chart.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's pretty much it actually for the rest of the 6-minute tiebreaker here. There's not quite a lot of surprises, although it's the fact that you have to really focus in on transitioning every now and again. I guess maybe this section is a little bit of a spicier.
Yeah, a little bit spicier than you might think for the outro, but that is going to finish off
at the anchor.
Tiebreaker. 7,400 combo.
Yeah. Yeah, there is it. 7,410.
Yeah, that's gonna be it for our round of 24 map pool there, with the tiebreaker there. I mean, for the players, don't get to tiebreaker. For the viewers, please do get to tiebreaker, because I'd love to see the nerves come out there.
Well, that's the contradiction.
All right. Well, I don't know exactly where to go from here, but that is going to be our round of 24 map pool. We'll see all of the players next weekend. Those will be streamed on OSU Live. The schedule for the round of 24, the 16 teams who will be playing in it, will be released very soon, at least for the players, and then they'll be finalized by the end of the week. as we said, seeds 1 through 8 will not be playing next weekend. They'll get a nice opportunity to see the rest of the teams play, with seeds 9 through 24 having to play through this for their lives in the tournament. But there's not much else to really say about this. Not much else to say about the round of 24. Good luck to all of the players and teams who qualified in one of the top 24 positions. Yeah, we hope to see you guys next week for the first round of match play in the Osu Mania 7 Key World Cup 2024. We'll see you guys then.